Good morning and welcome to Backchat. I'm Hugh Tiverton. Your co-host today is Steve Vine. Steve, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Today we're talking about the Bar Association controversy and the rift between Apple and Facebook. Chief Executive Carrie Lam says she sees no need to intervene in the affairs of the Bar Association for the time being, despite Beijing's scathing criticism against its chairman Paul Harris. The liaison office called him an anti-China politician and said it makes a mockery of the Bar Association by condoning Paul Harris to continue chairing the group. Harris had questioned the national security law previously, as well as the sentencing of 10 veteran pro-democracy activists for their participation in 2 peaceful protests in 2019. Harris had said in an interview that the prison terms handed down to Lai and others were the first ever handed down by a local court in relation to a peaceful, if unauthorised, protest. He warned that people may turn to violence if they're denied their right to express themselves peacefully. Well, do you think Mr. Harris is suitable to be the chairman? What do you think of the liaison officer's statement? Let us know your thoughts. You can leave a comment on our Facebook page. That's Backchat and RTHK Radio 3. You can email us, backchat@rthk.hk, or you can call us on 233-88266. And after 9:15, we're going to be discussing the new function on iPhone and iPads, which allow users to say no to apps accessing personal data, which is causing a rift between Apple and Facebook. Our email address, once again, backchat@rthk.hk. The Facebook is Backchat and RTHK Radio 3. So let's just go do some emails. I was just checking the Facebook. A few emails already on this issue. Bowen says the reported comments of Paul Harris since January seem to have been mild and measured by any standard. He seems to have been doing what any senior practicing lawyer in other common law jurisdictions would feel obligated to do if he or she were unlucky enough to be caught in Hong Kong's present circumstances. One wonders if the spokesperson for the China Liaison Office and various other local pro-Beijing figures have way overreacted. That's from Bowen. Derek says, Paul Harris has nothing to worry about. Carrie Lam has clearly stated there is no need to do anything to him or the Bar Association for the time being. By the way, I would like to congratulate Carrie on her new daytime TV show, which will be aired on RTHK TV 4 times a day, every day of the week. Oh, joy. Obviously, Hugh has not been trying hard enough to get her on Backchat. That's from Derek. And Matthew says, it strikes me that Bar Association head Paul Harris is a great Hong Konger and is in fact more patriotic than most. Why? Because he has the courage and confidence to represent the views of Hong Kong people and his association, but more importantly to give honest and constructive feedback to the CCP. His initial suggestions on modifying the NSL were reasonable, well considered and in the best interest of both the party and the people. Meanwhile, the likes of our CE, Ronnie Tong, and the 2 designated Backchat pro-CCP spokespeople, Andrew Leung and Ho Lok Sang, trip over themselves daily in a Red Guard-style frenzy, saying whatever they think will best secure and further their self-interests, all the while forgetting that the real judge of words and deeds will be history, not Chairman Xi. That is from Matthew. Joining us now, we have Professor Carol Peterson from the School of Law and the Graduate Chair at the Matsunaga Institute for Peace, and Lawrence Ma, Barrister and Chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation. Mr. Ma, maybe we'll start with you. Good morning.
Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning.
Nice.
Steve. Good to talk to you again after a while.
Yes.
Let's get straight into this. Do you think that Paul Harris should continue as head of the Bar Association?
Well, I think the comment he made to the press was not objective. It was not fair and square because he chose to play down the unlawfulness of the act of inciting an unlawful assembly. He tried to appeal for public sympathy by advocating the defense side of the story. It is fine if he confined his advocacy and his client's stance and defense within the 4 corners or 4 walls of the courtroom. That's a barrister's duty. But if he now chose to openly advocate such stance to appeal to the public by speaking to the media as like a politician, he definitely indulged himself in politics. And the bar is a professional body. Members have very different political stance. If he was just a defense barrister in the case, he would not have attracted any media interest. But because he's the chairman of the bar, which holds a representative position of all barristers, his statement has weight. Now, he has the freedom, as protected by the basic law, to make the statement as he did. But since he is using law to play politics, he needs to take the hit. And the entire bar is wearing the political hit he called for.
Well, Mr. Ma, can I just interrupt you? What you seem to be saying here is that the chairman of the Bar Association cannot speak on legal matters unless he is or she is directly involved in the case. Can you tell me of any other instance of a chairman of a bar association confining their comments about legal matters purely to cases which they are involved in, which you say is the only thing that they can do?
Well, what I'm saying is that he has.
Well, could you just answer that question?
He can say whatever he
No,
wants,
you've just said. You've just said that the problem is that he's not involved in the case and he's commenting on it.
Well, yes, because he openly advocates a stance to the public by speaking to the media as if he is like a politician. So he indefinitely indulges himself in politics. And if you do politics, if you're using law to play politics, you have to take the political hit.
So, I'm sorry, but let's just clarify. Are you trying to say that the chairman of the Bar Association is not allowed to comment more widely on legal matters unless they happen to be directly involved in the case?
Well, you have to define what you mean by allow. The law allows him, as freedom of expression is protected by the basic law for everyone in Hong Kong. So he has the right to say. If your allowance means legal allowance, yes, he is legally allowed. But politically, he was wrong because he indulged the bar in politics.
Could he continue as head of the Bar Association, a professional body, and make these comments separately in his private capacity? Would that be acceptable?
Well, that's the problem. How could you segregate a Bar Association chairman's statement to the public as a personal statement and not a stance of the bar? How could you clearly segregate the role when he speaks? That is the problem.
So do you think that he should step down as the chairman, or do you think that the Bar Association itself should ask him to step down?
If he continues to do so, he should step down.
Sorry, continues to do what?
Well, to speak out publicly in a political manner, to advocate
any commentary,
of his personal stance as if he represents the bar. Any
commentary on legal cases, in your view, is political, is that right?
No. If he speaks to the public and to the media, politically, he knows what is political, right? Because
I'm asking you. I'm asking you, what is your definition?
When we speak to the public as if you represent the bar publicly and politically on current affairs issues, that would be indulged in politics.
So you think that a case which has been held in the courts is political? I'm totally confused by what you regard as being political.
I'm not saying all cases held in the court is political.
So if you comment on a case in the court, you are acting in a political way. Is that what you're saying? Well, I don't know what you are saying.
That's not what I'm saying. There are so many cases that are not political. There are so many cases that are not criminal cases. And even in criminal cases, there are so many cases that doesn't involve political figures and the public order ordinance or the national security law. But if you choose to, because those charges were matters of current affairs, and if you comment on matters of current affairs publicly to the media, you are speaking politically.
Well, that's an extraordinary thing for you to say. You saying that these people have been charged for political reasons, not for legal reasons. Goodness.
No.
I didn't know you believed that.
I'm saying these people are charged for legal reasons. I did not say that they were charged for political reasons. Don't put words in my mouth.
All right, also with us is Professor Carol Peterson from the School of Law at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Good morning to you, and good day, and thanks for joining us. What's your reading on this? Do you think that Paul Harris should continue as chairman of the Bar Association?
Absolutely, and I really think this is completely being blown out of proportion. And Mr. Ma seems to have forgotten that the Bar Association and past chairmen of the bar have frequently taken positions on legal issues that do indirectly involve politics. And I would invite your audience to simply go to the website of the Hong Kong Bar Association. You will see the statement from Paul Harris, posted soon after he was elected by the barristers, and he stated his position on certain legal issues which are, to some extent, political, such as, he said, if I elected, he actually made this explicit, I will be attempting to persuade the Hong Kong government that we need to propose some amendments to the national security law. He doesn't oppose the law as a whole, but he thinks there are certain amendments that should be made, and that if they were made, it would be good for Hong Kong's legal system overall, because it might help to persuade certain foreign governments to resume their extradition agreements with Hong Kong. So if you look at that website, you'll see many examples of commentary like this, not just by Paul Harris, but by virtually every past chairperson of the bar and of the Bar Association itself. That's part of the role of the independent legal profession, not only the Bar Association, but also the Law Society, to comment on legal issues. Now, the reason this issue is so important is that the UN Human Rights Committee has frequently criticized Hong Kong's public order ordinance and taken the position that it violates the ICCPR because it puts too much power in the hands of the police to prevent people from peacefully expressing their views through an assembly. What Paul Harris said, in part, in this interview was simply a fact. He observed objectively the fact that this is the first time that people are actually being sent to jail for a peaceful protest. He didn't say that they hadn't been convicted. They have been convicted, although there are some appeals pending. But it is the first time that there's actually going to be jail time served for someone who didn't break any windows, didn't incite any violence, but simply was marching in a march that the police had refused to give a notice of non-objection. So, and he also made the comment that there's a risk if the police begin to prosecute people and people are actually sent to jail for peaceful expression, there may be a risk that people begin to feel that their right to public assembly is being curtailed so much that we may have more unrest in Hong Kong. And I think it's important to emphasize that Paul Harris
isn't that the
has
difference?
always been an advocate of peaceful protest. Yeah. He has never supported any violent protest whatsoever.
Sure, but isn't that the difference? That when he starts to talk about what could happen and how people in Hong Kong could feel, then that is a political discussion. That's not just a plain statement of fact, like whether people have been prosecuted for similar offences. He's joining.
Well,
if he's joining the political field, then he's got to
arguing, I would say, in favour of law reform, and I think that is perfectly within the realm of the Bar Association and its chairman. We do need to reform the public law, the public order ordinance, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the UN Human Rights Committee. And one of the reasons they argue you should reform it is so that people know there are peaceful avenues on which to express their views. And this is all the more important in light of what's happening with the legislature, because people are going to feel that the legislature is less representative of their views.
But if you're going to talk about law reform, I mean, you might expect a legal body to talk about the law, what the law is, not what they want the law to be. But if you are going to talk about law reform, then surely, as Mr. Ma said, you've got to take the hit. If you're going to join the political sphere, then you're going to be exposed and you're going to be criticised. And you've got to expect people will disagree with you, sometimes quite strongly.
Well, when you say take the hit, frankly, I don't think Paul Harris minds having people criticize him in public. He's perfect. He's well used to that. But I think it's not a question of how Paul Harris feels about it. It's a question of how the Hong Kong public perceives the independent judiciary and the independent legal profession. An independent legal profession is absolutely essential to our right to fair trial, which is protected under the Basic Law. You have to know that your advocates and that the Bar Association itself feel comfortable taking positions that may displease the government. Otherwise, you may not have an independent lawyer at your side if you are accused of a crime. Judges are also appointed in Hong Kong from the ranks of the legal profession. So that culture of independence and respect for their independence is very important. Now, what Carrie Lam said was fine, except for the words "at this time" or "for the time being." Carrie Lam should make it very, very clear that the legal profession regulates itself, and she did say that. The Legal Practitioners Ordinance provides for disciplinary measures. For example, if someone acts in a way that is inconsistent with the bar's code of conduct, there is a barrister's disciplinary tribunal. The bar has its own way of dealing with any improper behavior. It was totally improper for any mainland officials to make the comments criticizing this, because it's not just that they disagreed with Paul Harris. I don't think anyone really cares if they disagree with him. It's that they were challenging the right of the Bar Association to choose its own chairman and to maintain their choice of chairman. Indirectly, what these central government officials are trying to do is to try to twist the arm of the Bar Association to choose a new chairman, someone they like.
Well,
now,
but they're not. Well, okay, no. But the point is surely that they are. That's what they're saying. But they're not doing it. They're not removing him from office. They're saying he shouldn't be in the job.
It's totally improper for them to take any position.
But they are not removing him from his office. They're expressing the view that he should be removed from office. That's the difference.
I don't know any authority who would say it's proper for a government official to try to tell a bar association who they should elect as chairman. And in the past, when the Law Society and the Bar Association have elected their leaders, government officials have very wisely kept their mouths shut. As far as I know, this is the first time that we've actually seen right in public some effort to put pressure on the Bar Association to terminate their choice of chairperson. So it's not a question of Paul Harris taking the heat. Paul Harris is a strong man. He's been through all sorts of criticisms any barrister has. It's a question of whether the central government is improperly trying to interfere in Hong Kong's independent legal profession. And if they do so, they are indirectly and eventually perhaps directly interfering with your right and the right of every Hong Kong resident to a fair trial.
I wonder, Professor Peterson, if we could just look at this more widely, because the area that we're talking about is where public policy impinges on exercise of the law. So we have another instance here, and I wonder, in the logic of what you've been saying, what you think about this. We have the Chief of Police advocating for a change of the law, saying that there should be a law introduced for fake news, as he calls it. Do you think that's a proper thing to be doing?
I don't have any problem with him proposing the idea of discussing a law. I do have a problem if it's enacted by an unrepresentative legislature without input from the public, and I'll have a big problem with it if it violates the ICCPR, because Article 39 of our Basic Law says no law in Hong Kong shall violate the ICCPR. But I don't have a problem with someone in the police suggesting, I think we need an amendment to a certain law, and police have taken positions on other issues before. I mean, if you look at our history of law reform in Hong Kong and you go back and look at reports for the Law Reform Commission, you frequently hear views from people from all different departments in government about whether the law should be reformed. So in and of itself, someone commenting on the legal framework or perhaps the need for an amendment to the law shouldn't be problematic. But as long as they're part of the Hong Kong legal system, it becomes more problematic if it's commentary from the mainland, because that could violate Hong Kong's high degree of autonomy.
All right. Well, Lawrence Ma, well, what do you make of that? Also, bearing in mind that the chief executive seems to have said that there's no need to. It's up to the Bar Association, basically.
Well, I think there has been callings from the legal profession to our certain sectors of the legal profession that a statutory body has to be established which would resume the role of issuing practicing certificates to barristers, as well as to handle disciplinary matters for barristers.
Sorry, you mean a different one? You mean they should set up a different association?
Yes, because if that there has been some callings from certain sectors of the legal profession that if this sort of political comments continues to politicize the bar, which the bar should remain as a professional body, some were saying that the government should take a stance.
And do you support that? Do you agree?
Is to establish a statutory body such as the Independent Police Complaints Council, with people appointed from the legal profession to chair it and to resume the role of the bar in accrediting barristers' practicing certificate and in disciplining proceedings of barristers, so that it would not be, the bar would not become or continue to be a political body as such.
Do you support that? Do you think that there should be a new bar association, in essence?
Well, I think there is. We have to acknowledge that there is this continuing problem of the bar association chairman trying to play politics using the law. Now, if that is the problem, what the central government sees, obviously, you know, I know, everybody knows. Now, as to whether this would go as far as what Carrie Lam may try to stop is to establish a statutory body. What I wanted is not a statutory body. What I want is a professional bar that look after the barrister's interest instead of playing politics.
Do you think that the fact that the bar is democratically run, in other words, it's run by its members, it elects its officials, do you think that this is a problem? I mean, it seems to me that you're saying that these unnamed people in the legal profession are unhappy with this. They would have a right to run in these elections, and if their views prevailed, they would get elected. Where is the problem here?
Well, I mean, every professional association in Hong Kong is allowed to, under the basic laws, to adopt an election system, a democratic system of election, to elect the chairman. I don't think that's the election.
No. What I'm asking you is, if these elections result in a view other than your own, do you think they should be nullified by powers that at the moment reside in the hands of the Bar Association and indeed in the hands of the Law Society? Do you think they should be taken away until the members elect somebody who's more acceptable to you?
No. What I'm saying is a professional body can have their own views in various professional matters. But if they indulge in politics and trying to play politics by speaking to the media and so on and so forth, they should take the political hit. And this is now a political attack by the central government on the Bar Association, obviously.
Right. So you think that
you've got to take the hit, as I said before.
Do you think it's appropriate, because Professor Peterson was concerned about this, saying it's not appropriate for this sort of criticism to come from a government body like the liaison office? Do you agree with that?
No, of course not. Because this professional body has to step outside of its professional role as a professional organization. So
Lawrence, that is your opinion. I don't think most barristers feel that way.
Or quasi-political party of a group of barristers. So, I mean, if you do politics, you got to face political consequences of political comments from various parties.
I'm sorry, but Lawrence, simply by saying it again and again, play politics, a political party, it doesn't make it true. I would invite, again, your listeners to go and look at the website of the Hong Kong Bar Association. You will see it has always been the tradition to make comments on law reform. Indeed, the Bar Association and the Law Society are frequently relied upon by the Law Reform Commission, by the Legislative Council, to make submissions on law reform. That is part of their role, and it doesn't become playing politics.
All right, Lawrence Marr, it's just law reform.
No. If you take the example of the NSL, what Paul Harris was advocating was for the Hong Kong local government to change the law of a law enacted by the central government of the National People's Congress. Now, if you are a serious lawyer, you would know that in common law, you can't get the district court to alter a precedent set down by the Court of Final Appeal, isn't it? So this is basic, simple hierarchy of the legal system and political system.
Okay.
The doctrine of precedent. I mean, you can't.
What you just said is completely nonsensical. I'm sorry. Of something set down by a higher hierarchy.
Okay.
By doing.
We got a break. Sorry for the news at 9 o'clock. Lawrence Ma, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Barrister, Chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation. We'll continue the discussion after the news at 9. Drop us a line. It's going to be cloudy with a few showers, more showers later. 24 degrees, the latest readings, with the relative humidity now up at 89%. Back in 3 minutes.
Period. You're listening to the news on RTHK.
Welcome back. Back chat this Wednesday morning with Steve Vines and me, Hugh Chiverton. We're talking about controversy over the criticism of the Bar Association chairman, Paul Harris. We were joined by Lawrence Ma, barrister, chairman of the Hong Kong Legal Exchange Foundation in the first part of the programme, along with Professor Carol Peterson from the University of Hawaii, the Matsunaga Institute for